Things are changing in Fromville.
Here's what I know. Things are changing.
The trees, they're changing.
The balance is shifting. From a warm and carefree summer
Too many things are changing. It's never snowed here before.
to a cold and deadly winter. A new cycle is starting, so the current one must end.
The first time I saw him was right before the 2 cars came. Not your 2 cars, the first 2 cars.
But to start anew, you must destroy the old. Throughout this series, there have been many signs of an impending storm, a destructive flood that will be the start of the transformation from one cycle to the next.
We had this really big storm. It hit the coast last year and it flooded half the town, knocked out all the power.
And that Boyd will be the shepherd to lead the people to still waters, the captain who will navigate the storm.
How about Psalm 23? From the book of cut the self-pitying bullshit and be a leader. They need you to be strong, to hold this place together. You need to be the one to lead these people home.
It seems there are 2 opposing forces of this place, constantly disrupting the balance. And, as with each cycle before, the balance must be restored, the slate wiped clean. The signs are all there to guide our heroes on what's to come, to help them understand what choices must be made to escape Fromville, escape the never-ending cycle they have been doomed to repeat.
The signs were all there if I'd known how to read them.
Let's break it down. This place is defined by cycles, proven through the reincarnation of Jade and Tabitha. We've witnessed it shift from hopeful and full of life to the dark and terrifying death trap that it has become. I think the evidence shows that the tunnels will lead to a lake, and come springtime, our heroes will find the lake, as well as boats. There will be a great storm and flooding brought down upon them as they push too close to escape. And Boyd, he will be the one to captain those boats, leading the people through rough waters, as Jade uses the lighthouse to help guide them. At some point, they will have to face the spider, as well as other new perils, leading to Boyd again being forced between a rock and a hard place, having to choose a sacrifice. Let's start off with why springtime? It's deeply connected to themes of renewal, rebirth, and resurrection. As the plants and trees regrow, the earth seems to come alive. And don't forget, we also have Easter during spring. You know, bunnies, colored eggs, and oh yeah, the resurrection of Jesus, a savior figure. There's also the spring equinox, a point in the year where the sun crosses the celestial equator, moving from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. On the equinox, there is a near equal amount of daylight and darkness, which symbolizes balance and harmony. We see a sign that spring is important on this calendar in the colony house. Notice the boats? History is full of stories about resetting the earth, resetting the balance, usually by way of destruction, like by flood, to make way for renewal. You have Noah's Ark, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Greek flood myth brought on by Zeus, as well as floods in end-of-world stories like Ragnarok and the Book of Revelation. They all boil down to the same thing: God getting angry and hitting the reset button. We've seen a similar type of behavior from the bad forces in Fromville, who also seem to want to rage quit when they're pissed off. A perfect example of this is when Boyd and Sarah got too close to the lighthouse.
Nathan was right about this place. It's angry now. You have to get inside. Over there. You'll be safe in there.
They avoided a more serious storm by backing down and leaving, but you see, Boyd, he feels like he's on his last leg right now, that his Parkinson's disease is going to overtake him soon, and he feels like he's got nothing to lose.
Welcome to hell, bitch!
Boy, you picked the wrong guy on the wrong day.
Boyd will eventually push harder, and that storm was just the beginning of what's to come when he pushes.
Nathan had a theory about this place. If we tried to leave, if we pushed too hard, then something would push back.
We also have some not so subtle foreshadowing from our girl Acosta.
We had this really big storm. It hit the coast last year and it flooded half the town, knocked out all the power. And people were scared, they were angry. And so the precinct captain, he got everyone out to sandbag the marina.
Not only does she mention a flood, but I think the sandbagging comment also ties into another ancient creation story that has a lot in common with Fromville. The story of the Iroquois Sky Woman, which is about the mother of Earth, a woman who fell through a hole in the tree of life, a sacred tree in the sky world. She fell into endless water, but thankfully she had the help of animals. They brought mud up from deep underwater and used it to build land. Earth. I mean, come on, the special tree with a hole in it and more symbolism surrounding water? For me, this also reinforces the idea that the tunnels will lead somewhere, another exit through the lake. When Tabitha and Victor were in the tunnels, she sees water pooling right in the middle of the sleeping monsters.
Mary, where's the water coming from?
And as she gets closer, they awaken.
They're waking up.
When Victor later returns to the tunnels with his dad, the monsters are gone, and the area where they once were no longer has water pooling.
You should be here. This is where I saw him. Maybe we should go back. You can get your bearings. Know where I am. We need to go deeper.
I think the monsters moved to where the water is to guard the way out.
Your wife shouldn't have dug that hole, Jim.
The man in yellow's warning is deeper than we thought. Like literally, like dig deeper than the basement of the house. Under the symbol, under the roots of the tree, to fall into the water like the Sky Woman. If they dig where the water was pooling, maybe they find an underwater tunnel. One that leads to the way out. Perhaps to a lake.
Is there water nearby? Like a lake or a pond?
Elgin saw water, a lake, in his dream, and while Fatima assumes he saw the Brundles, I don't think that's what he saw. So far, everything from his dream has been important to the nature of this place. We even see Kimono Lady drowning his ass. I think all of this ties into the importance and even dangers of water here and what's to come. I think what he saw was meant to be the Lake of Tears.
From the Lake of Tears. It wasn't too late. You're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
The story of Norman is also foreshadowing. Someone is gonna be hurt, thought to be all but dead. And who is it that needs to hurry up and get back from the Lake of Tears to save Norman, to save the people? Why, Boyd, of course.
How about Psalm 23? From the book of cut the self-pitying bullshit and be a leader. You need to be the one to lead these people home.
He is our shepherd. He found the farm animals to feed the people, found the talismans to protect them, restored their hope, removed their fear. And Khatri isn't the only one relating Psalm 23 to Boyd. Interesting enough, Tilly gives the same prayer when Boyd is out trying to destroy the music box.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me.
Boyd will lead them to still waters, to finally rest in green pastures. The writers of the show have already drilled it into our heads that Boyd has a boat, Boyd is a sailor. This and also bells are thought to protect ships from storms or ward off evil spirits. Remember how back in season 1, Boyd was talking to Abby at her grave, looking for a sign, something to put confidence in his plans? And later, the jukebox plays his song.
I'll be damned.
What is it?
I just got my sign.
At the time, Boyd didn't read the signs right. He didn't realize that it wasn't just a signal, it was literal. It had a message. You need a boat. In my last video about Odin and the runes, we talked about this song, the lyrics about a pony and how it relates to Norse mythology. If you haven't watched that video yet, go check it out. That being said, I've been thinking maybe there is more to it after seeing several scenes with horses mentioned.
Who's gonna bet on the ponies? I've been visiting racetracks all across the country.
You got Mr. Teacup sauntering in with his big white horse and his blue eyes.
Wild horses couldn't stop me.
And then I saw the ambulance in season 1. Troy. You know, the story of the Trojan horse, how the Greeks tricked the Trojans with a wooden horse sent as a peace offering. But instead, it was an ambush. The Greek soldiers secretly sailed into the city under the cover of night to win the war. Our heroes in Fromville might have to employ similar tactics. Trick the bad guys into thinking they give up, that they aren't going to try to escape anymore. All the while, Boyd secretly sails in the cover of night.
Dad! It's getting dark. You said we take the boat out.
Or all this horse talk could be more Book of Revelation symbolism, like we saw in season 3, episode 10. In the Book of Revelation, there are 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: white, red, black, and pale, or yellow. Maybe the man in yellow is just the tip of the iceberg, as good old Martin would say. There is some evidence to this. In the tunnels, we see cave drawings of people traveling on boats leading to this big red thing. We still don't know what's been outside at the huts, what Tabitha saw at those red stones in her nightmares. Is the Red Horseman coming, a new monster that Boyd will have to face after their treacherous boat ride? I digress. There's another story that happens directly after the Trojan War, the Odyssey. It tells a tale of Odysseus on his journey home from Troy. Along the way, he encounters monsters, gods, and impossible challenges, including navigating his ship between Scylla, a 6-headed monster, and Charybdis, a deadly whirlpool. To survive, Odysseus must sail closer to Scylla, sacrificing some of his men to avoid total destruction in Charybdis. This story is often used to represent the phrase between a rock and a hard place, as Odysseus must choose between, let's face it, 2 really shitty options, both which will cause death and require sacrifice.
You don't make moral choices based on the outcomes you expect. I wasn't thinking about the trolley problem or determinism. I wasn't thinking of any of that.
But good old Moonshine Tom, he's always coming through with these pearls of wisdom. Being between a rock and a hard place is just like the trolley problem, a moral dilemma where you basically have to choose who's gonna die. Remember when Boyd made this choice earlier in the season to save Jim, Tabby, and Henry at the expense of Randall?
No, that's why they call it a rock and a hard place, not a rock and a soft, comfy pillow. You need to decide right now who you are.
I think that Boyd will again be forced to make a choice to sacrifice someone or even himself for the greater group. And check out that Grand Rapids reference on the bus that both Randall and Elgin came in on. You know, the 2 people that Boyd decided were worth sacrificing. A perfect metaphor for the moral dilemma of Odysseus. And perhaps Scylla will be represented by that pesky spider. Oh, did you think I forgot about the spider? Well, this one goes deeper into my theory about this place, that it all changes based on the current cycle, the current reincarnations, children.
But someone who loved them told them a story. The story gave them hope. And when the children laid on the stones, they poured their hope into the roots that make the symbol, and those roots became the tree.
The stories the Onkui children were told by their mother, OG Tabby, didn't just build that faraway tree, but this whole world. And every iteration of Tabitha, every reincarnation's children were told different stories that became a part of Fromville. Stories Miranda told Victor became part of the design, even the buildings and the way the monsters are dressed. As soon as Tabitha arrived, the new cycle kicked into motion. The stories told to Ethan, the Crommennockle, Norman, the fairies, they will become a part of this place too. This is where the nursery rhyme, the Itsy Bitsy spider, comes into play. We see this imagery of a spider in rain, and so far, we've only seen its nest deep in the forest. Like the song goes, down came the rain and washed the spider out. Our hero's quest is looking almost impossible, with terrors yet to be known. But in Fromville, there's always hope. And we better hope Jade doesn't fuck things up, because I think the fate of this cycle may ultimately come down to him.
The boy in white was trying to tell Christopher that to save the children, he would have to go through the tree. He wouldn't listen. He got angry.
Jade is the one who needs to go up in the lighthouse, not Tabitha. Tabitha will need to be with Boyd on the water, protecting her family. She has also been closely linked to boats and sailing, waking up in St. Anthony's Hospital in Camden, Maine. St. Anthony being the patron saint of water, protector of sailors, and Camden being well known as a maritime town. I think this is where the previous cycles may have failed. Christopher rejected the boy in white story, and Miranda tried to go in his place but died.
Christopher would go to the tree, so I told my mother what the boy in white said. That's why she left us.
Jade needs to go to the lighthouse and light that bitch up, either as a guiding light or a signal to Boyd. This also makes me think of another story with horses, ships, and the number 12, kinda. One if by land and two if by sea, the story of Paul Revere, about using light to signal information about the enemy. Jade may need to use a code like this to signal to Boyd what action to take. We've also seen a lot of scenes where the lights are flickering here, looking a lot like Morse code, so perhaps that's what they will need to use. Not only do we use Morse code or lighthouses to communicate with those at sea, but there's also a kind of funny connection with the bottle tree here too. All those pieces of paper in there, a message in a bottle, like those we toss into the sea as a desperate attempt to connect, to communicate when lost. All of these signs, all of these connections to water, storms, boats, I feel pretty confident in my predictions about what's to come in season 4 and beyond. What do you think about these predictions? Do you agree that there will be a flood, that Boyd will be the captain, the shepherd, the savior? If this interests you, please subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. We're going to be diving deeper into some of these themes we've covered today, as well as new topics that I want to explore. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please consider throwing a like and tell me what you think in the comments below. And my channel is now set up with memberships and super thanks, so if you really want to throw some extra support, you know what to do. Thanks again. Until next time, toodles.